to disrupt everybody's dreams. Temptations mean mistakes are made until it seems everybody's just throwing shade. I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. Hi. I used to think that come tomorrow, every time for yesterday, is not the sort of thing that one can borrow. No one will instantly eliminate it. Thanks, KKSP. You're a pal. I like you. I like people who like my music. I won't be just another casualty. I know, I'll turn it off right now. I'm not just listening to music here. I just was, and I just didn't want to stop until I wanted to stop. I used to think that tomorrow. I really like this. This thing. This came out really good. Ruthless is amazing. It's so good. I don't know how come it's like you got nothing on anywhere. Returning to the urgency of isolated mass. Free of metaphysics, hunting buffalo while you're thinking red delicious. Knowledge of the seasons, wisdoms of old. It's called living large, smoking in the house, motherfuckers. Hostility is kept at bay. By what you think is in the way. By what you think is in the way. What up, where's his mom? Rock and roll. Yeah, Christmas is insane. It's so good. It's imagining a history that never could have been. I feel so lucky. Advancement as a sin, lamenting disconnection and every corporate act. I've been a rebel. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay. By what you think is in the way. By what you think is in the way. Of us as children of the land. With mighty God, you find modernity just so bad now. Wow, wow. Wow, wow. We're going to put that in the studio version. But like he played this. Visualize nobility, sipping on some port. Tribes of peaceful savages in beautiful comport. But few of history's people ever thusly did comport. Yeah, life was solitary, nasty, brutish, sorry, and short. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay. By what you think is in the way. By what you think is in the way. Of lives as children of the land. With an agave weatherman. With an agave weatherman. You know what I think interesting about that is what really makes that song pop and makes me want to listen to it and love it and everything, which is not the case for all of my songs at all, but it is for some of them. It's the background vocals in the chorus. And it didn't even have those until I went to that bridge to make that's the recording of it with Spacey. And, I discovered the background vocals that are supposed to go there while I was making that bridge video with Spacey. And they totally make the song, in my opinion. Without the call and response in the chorus, it never takes off. It never fully soars, With the background vocals and the chorus, it really just pops. It's like, wow, I love that song now. Yeah, it's like the other song that is very much made by has a big factor is in a similar way in the call and response in the chorus is What's the Matter with Chad? where it goes, I'll play it. This one.
What's the matter with Chad?
Is he terribly bad?
Is he very like Finn?
Who's a terrible man?
Is he sort of like Jill?
Who can't pay your bill?
Or rather like Jack?
Too stuck on the facts.
And what about Sue?
Will she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? He talks about you whenever we go walking. Here, oh, that was not the chorus yet.
She's been living in sin.
She's been hanging with Jim.
Looking terribly thin.
What's the deal with Frank?
Stealing fish from my tank.
He's colluding with you.
They're talking to you.
What's wrong with the ladies?
What's the matter with men?
From the feelings of Katie.
It's a good song.
Gonna call this
One of my better songwriting efforts. He talks about you whenever we go walking. See, like this.
Paths that lead to lesser days.
Paths that lead to lesser days.
Still spill from the overwater.
Still spill out the overwatered past.
Whoever's left that's
Still okay.
just out the sails to the mess.
Are you
Yeah.
angry at Ken?
Or Neville again.
Don't bother with Kev.
He's practically dead.
That chorus also has that sort of call and response thing. And I really like it in that song too. Whenever I'm singing along in the car, I always sing the second vocal part in the chorus rather than the first vocal part. Good news. King Krishna Sarvaku, I have a question for you, and it's an important one. Have you heard the good news? Have you? I ask my kitty that a lot. I say, Kitty, have you heard the good news? And she usually doesn't answer. I tell her, the good news is you're a very special kitty. I'm not lying this time. Unlike past occasions when I was lying about your specialness, not this time. Have you heard the good news? This video is called What's Wrong with Me? What's wrong with me? That's the question today. There's a lot of things probably, but I'm trying to pin it down. Like what the fuck, Eric? And what I mean by that is like like what am I gonna do today? I've got this date, and I've got a couple of things I've been telling myself yesterday in the car. I was like, Eric, now listen. It is time for you to start to apply yourself a little bit. I am tired of being half-assed Harry all the time. No, I'm not Cameron Dad. I like Cameron a lot. Cameron's great, and I'll tell you what Cameron's really great for. He's an ISTJ, and my dad's an ESTJ. And boy, could I tell in no uncertain terms that from my dad's perspective, it was kind of like, finally I'm dealing with somebody who makes sense and who's sensible and who knows how to TE shit, you know? I think he's going to become my dad's friend. I think they're going to get along great. They're getting along well already. He my dad's sort of hesitant to draw any conclusions without more SI experience of a person to settle him into it. But he's going to love Cameron because Cameron is so, he's made for this job too. I remember complacent relating to a lot. Maybe my presidency goal is on the back burner until my mom dies. But I have lots of opportunity in the media in the interim to do things. So I've got a couple of things, a couple of specific projects that I said to myself, like in the car yesterday, that I want to prioritize over other projects. And there were two specifically. The studio version of Agave Weatherman, because that version right there is great. I mean, I'm pretty fucking satisfied with it just like that. But and that's all Ruse Moose is doing. He just took the audio off of that bridge video and put down bass and drums underneath it and made it sound fucking like, wow. It's like sounds like a full ass thing now, you know? But I didn't have to do any work on that. He sent me the parts and he sent me the mix too. And I mastered it is what I did. I didn't even remix it. I just mastered it. He had it mixed like perfectly. So that was so cool. I didn't expect that at all. Because when I told him, like, yeah, I want drums for this, and it's gonna be like basically the pace of that song there. I didn't think he was going to play to that. I thought he was gonna, do a tap tempo, figure out what BPM that was, and then lay down the drums structured to that, but not actually play along with it like that. So that's a little bit was a little bit of a surprise and a happy surprise, and it's kind of got me slightly, hi baby. I want to share with everybody, since Rachel's here, a Facebook post that I posted like 5 years ago. I had no recollection of that popped up in my memories on Facebook yesterday. So Rachel informed me that BAE, B-A-E, stands for before anyone else. And I didn't know that. I thought I didn't know that. Turns out I had learned that about 5 years ago because I put a Facebook post up that said, let me read it. It's like a sentence or too long. I was very, very busy patting myself on the back for this one last night because it made me laugh. I didn't remember making it at all. It says, today I learned the word bay cannot be used to simply represent the prepositional phrase before anyone else. For example, if I were to say, I was served my food bay, that wouldn't make sense. Get it? I thought that was funny. Yeah, you can't use it like that. Look, I got here bay, so you need to take me first. BAE. BAE is something the youth say to their significant other. I always thought, or I thought that it was short for baby. You can use it. You just can't use it purely as a prepositional phrase. So you can't say like, well, that's what I thought too. It's short for baby. No, it stands for before anyone else. But you use it to refer to a person. And it definitely doesn't stand for baby. It definitely stands for before anyone else because I shared that post. That was from 2014. And then when I met Rachel, she informed me that bae stood for before anyone else. And I had forgotten that I had ever learned that. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Definitely does. I mean, look it up on the internet. You got internets at your disposal. I'll Google it, I guess. What does bae mean? Well, it does say early 21st century abbreviation of baby or babe. What does babe really mean? Urban Dictionary says it's an acronym that stands for before anyone else. What is the meaning of bae in social media? When people say bae, they actually mean babe or baby. You know, seen people using the term on social media websites. Some people define the term as before anyone else. What about boo? The slight difference is the word boo is used in real life more often, while bae is more of a social media term. Basically, boo means the same thing as bae. Before origami occult, before occult others. Boo stands to I have fun, Rachel. Have fun at winter camp. I love you. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Look, Can Chris and Sarah Pagoo, regardless of the etymology of the term, it is absolutely the case that bae in contemporary parlance does, for at least a fair minority of people, stand for before anyone else. Can Christian Sarah Pagoo's got her fiery pitchforks today. She's stabbing at the wrongness implicit in my words. Even if it is a false etymology, a backronym. A backronym, I've never heard that expression before. I like it a lot. I got to Google it. You're a backronym. Get your backronym out of my waddle coot. Oh. An acronym deliberately formed from a phrase whose initial letters spell out a particular word or words, either to create a memorable name or a fanciful explanation of a word's origin. So, before anyone else is definitely a backronym. Nobody's disputing that. I'm not saying it's not a backronym. I love the word. Thank you for introducing me to it. Great. Beautiful. Well, it's like I came up with a good word yesterday, and the word is rowship. A rowship is a what? No, not restarting at anything. Why? HP support assistance. My pawpaw. My pawpaw is a polite way of saying my penis. Anyway, I was just talking about rowships. So I was thinking, like, I know my mom's still alive and everything, but when we go to Hawaii, it's going to be me and Rachel, Delilah and her boyfriend, and my dad. So I was saying to Rachel, like, I wonder if I could talk my dad into letting me try to find him a woman that he's gonna have this 2-bedroom hotel suite thing in a different place than we're staying at, but nearby by himself. And I was saying, I wonder if I could like finagle something up with the channel. And Rachel was like, well, he's too devoted to your mom. I don't think his business even works anymore because his prostate's really bad. He had a stent put in to pee at one point. So, but he still would probably enjoy the company of a woman, and that would be a rowship, which is it's a romantic friendship, because usually maybe because you're super old, and your junk doesn't work anymore. So that's a good word, a rowship. You could call it a friendmance, but I think rowship sounds better. It's a little easier to say, rolls off the tongue better. I know someone in Hawaii, a psychic, Kim Julin, who might know someone, or you could hire an escort. I don't want to hire an escort. Yeah. I love friendmance. It's something that my dad ultimately is going to need in life after my mom passes, but he needs right now, and I'm kind of providing this role, and it's not the easiest role in the world to fulfill because ESTJs, they give a lot and they demand a lot of you. They demand a lot of you in the sense that they to be nice to them requires you to listen to them and operate under their frame and play along with their TE stuff. You know, my dad is constantly wanting to talk to me about logistics. I learned to hate that word logistics by the time I was 4 or 5 years old, I'm sure. No, I get you, Winston. I'm not offended at all. I would. You're saying that very gently, and it's absolutely the case. And so, I want my dad to the extent that my dad's open to opening up his world some, I want to facilitate that because he really doesn't get the internet, he just doesn't get it. He talks about the news and sort of operates under the assumption that everybody is limited to the same 5 media choices that he is, and that's one of the problems with America is right now is that the decline of newspapers and stuff. He gets the Wall Street Journal and the Los Angeles Times delivered. He gets the Economist delivered, the magazine. He really likes the Economist, and he watches both CNN. I'm sorry, he watches both MSNBC and Fox News. He switches back and forth, and he doesn't watch CNN. Yeah, exactly. Fussology. The T's are the ones that make it more complex than it needs to be. In other words, the T's are not concerned about impacting people. They're concerned about impacting ideas. Is there a donut shop nearby where other old men hang out and talk over coffee? There was in Temple City. And it's quite close actually to where Arcadia. It's just one little town down. It's like 5 miles away. I don't know. Probably not even 5 miles. No, he's not all foxed out at all. He complains about Fox News and he complains about MSNBC, and he dismisses CNN as pointless. He likes Rachel Maddow and like Fox News in general. He thinks is better than MSNBC, sort of. But mostly, when he responds to it, he's not echoing those sentiments at all. He's critiquing them. He's saying things like, the problem with this is they don't understand. This isn't a matter for judging it according to conflicting interests. It's a matter of judging it for blah, blah, blah. He's a political science professor. He's got his PhD in philosophy. He is not part of any echo chamber. Yeah, Rachel Maddow, I'm assuming, is a lesbian. She certainly looks like it, and I can't imagine any man wanting to have sexual intercourse with her because she's so icky. Not that makes her a lesbian, but she's just so not feminine at all. There's nothing feminine about her, and the aspects of her that are just not related to gender at all, just sort of intellectual. Well, she's an abject intellectual failure by any reasonable metric. I mean, I'm not saying Fox News is better. The thing is, to the extent that Fox News is more right about certain things, they ruin it by not being right about being right. They don't know how to be right. They don't know how to be wrong or right. They don't know how to think. It's a fucking ongoing problem that I struggle with in the world. It's like I have very good clarity about how people need to think if they want to be right. Of course, the problem is if they want to be right, they don't want to be right. They want to be passionate or something. My mother is all Fox News data, and she's not speaking to me. I think because I tried too hard to explain what was happening last year, long before anyone was paying attention. I was, and I thought I should explain. Well, look, being a propagandist of any sort, like being a groupist, or there's this thing that people do that is destroying America, basically. And the thing that they do is they turn their political positions into an imaginary enemy. Those goddamn meows, whatever it is, who are responsible for all the problems because they're so wrong. Now, you might say, Eric, you're obsessed with wrongness and saying who's wrong and stuff. What are you talking about? Well, I'm obsessed with pointing out when some individual is wrong about something. Maybe you could say that. But I'm not interested in pointing out and saying and reducing a group to being the scoundrels here. The scoundrel is not the Republicans. The scoundrel is not the Democrats. The scoundrel's not the Libertarians. The scoundrel's not any position or ideology or dogma or anything like that. The scoundrel is groupism. The determination that some other group that you made up in your head is responsible for all the problems, and that once you decide to put somebody in that group, then you don't have to listen to them anymore, and their position is not valid. It's the adversarial quality that people take about politics that makes it prone to this kind of team shit that's bad. My goal when I become president, number one goal, is to not be divisive. I am not going to divide the country. I am not going to appeal to a base by veering hard left or right. I'm going to be correct about everything. And mostly what I'm going to be correct about, most of all, is the need for us to be adults and have a conversation about shit. And not attack each other. And not dismiss and reduce each other so that the other side's positions don't have any validity and you just oppose them no matter what. Let's work together, dialectic, to decide what the actual best policy is. Let's make it win-win, whatever it is, so that if I win politically, you win politically when you support me, no matter what party or whatever else you are. Because the whole country has been sold on the idea that this is actually a good idea. Whatever it is. It's been sold on the idea that if they're still hesitant about the idea, that they know they've been heard, that their considerations have been taken seriously. Not just like, I go, well, you said this, but that's wrong. I said, look, I get it. This is really important. And we want to make sure that everybody is heard, most of all. That everybody feels heard. They know that their considerations were actually involved in the decision-making process by somebody who's not just blowing smoke up their ass, who give those arguments their due consideration and will evaluate them correctly on their merits without any preconceived bias or whatever. Well, that's me. I don't care how wrong you are. I respect the fact that your wrongness needs to be heard too and considered. and given a respectful hearing. And that's what is not being told to the American people by anybody else. Well, I mean, I definitely take a stand against groupisms of all sorts. The thing is, people are so obsessed about certain kinds of groupist language, and they don't give a fuck at all about other kinds of groupist language. And like one thing that would help us all to understand each other better is if we recognize the fact that being a racist and hating those Democrats, it's the same nonsense. It's exactly the same nonsense. Can Krishna Sarmapagu? I am the answer to the problem you exemplify. Smart people are nihilistic, jaded, and cynical. Why? Because where's the smart person who's being an advocate? Where's the smart person who's stepping up and saying, I will be a leader and I will lead properly? Not because I want to lead or seek a lot of power, but because the times, circumstances, situation, realities, whatever, demand it. Because destiny demands it of me. But unlike every other leader you've ever heard speak, you will know that I understand you when you are speaking, that I take you seriously enough as a human being to respect and respond to your words directly, and to seek to build a discursive common ground that is not necessarily common about what the policies are, but it's common about how we talk to each other. I have been told by Can Krishna Sarmapagu and 1,000 other people that I will fail in this quest. I will fulfill my destiny, which is to say, I will do the things that the slabs intend me to do. And what they intend me to do right now is to be absolutely certain that I will successfully become president. Because my becoming president is the only thing that makes all the slabs line up perfectly and best upholds the universal good. So it's going to be. And people can come up with lots of individual reasons as to why I might fail. Well, you're not telegenic enough. You're not, you don't have enough money to do this. There's secret societies that'll shut you down, and there's shit tons of reasons why I will fail. I will relieve the world of that ontological burden, the burden that we must be doomed to the past failures we've experienced, doomed to repeat them over and over again, doomed never to grow or evolve as a species or as a civilization. I am the answer to all of those questions. An actual adult who actually understands everything, being in charge of the shit he understands in a way that it serves fundamentally the goodness, justice, truth, and autonomy of individual human moral agency. So that's why I will become president. Now, I acknowledge the fact, if you were to ask me directly, but isn't it possible you won't become president? Yes, but that's not what I'm intended to be focusing on right now. Until I fail to become president, my focus is not going to be on the fact that I'm going to be running for president, but specifically that I'm running for president because obviously I'm going to become president. There's no point in running if you're not going to successfully do the thing. I am going to successfully do the thing, and that's my only position on the matter right now. If reality forces me to change my position, I will. But that's not how I operate. I don't operate where I'm not reality's bitch. Okay, that's number one rule around here and everywhere else in the world. I, Eric, am not reality's bitch. Okay, I drive reality before me. Now, I have to cooperate with it. I have to be consistent with the slabs. I can't think that I'm driving the ship. I'm not driving the ship in directional sense. I'm driving it in the sense that I'm impelling it someplace. I'm not steering it exactly. I don't think an unmarried person has ever been president. I'll probably be married by the time I get to be president, though, because I'm going to marry Rachel, and then I'll be married. I mean, I consider myself married already. I'm married basically right now. I don't buy the idea that either the state or a church needs to legitimize my marriage. If I declare myself married, that makes me married. That's good enough for me. I don't. Why would some third party's declaration that I'm married be more accurate than mine? It makes no sense at all. I mean, obviously, Rachel and I agree that we're married, or else I wouldn't be able to make that claim. But I can't impose marriage upon some chick. Nevertheless, Winston's mom, James Buchanan and Grover Cleveland, weren't married to each other, but they were still really close. Okay. I think they were the original bromance, except it was more like gay lovers, because there's a lot of going on between Grover and James. Are they contemporaries, Grover Cleveland and James Buchanan? Or are they from like 50 years apart or something? My American history isn't that good. James Buchanan, those are like two of our least known presidents. If you're going to forget a couple of presidents, who are you going to forget? The unmarried ones. Grover Cleveland is a hard name to say. Grover Cleveland. Have you ever encountered anybody whose last name is Cleveland? I feel like a lot of those names don't exist anymore. Whose last name is Cleveland? Nobody. I'll tell you whose last name is Pittsburgh right now. Isaiah Rude. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Well, Grover Cleveland is the only American president to serve in 2 non-consecutive terms in office. Interesting. He had 6 kids. So I think he was a widower if he was not married. He was a widower. He wasn't a bachelor. Let's see. He was the mayor of Buffalo. He sent the legislature 8 vetoes in his first 2 months in office in the New York state legislature. He vetoed a bill that would have reduced fares on New York City elevated trains to 5 cents. Cleveland recognized the bill. He said saw the bill as unjust. He recognized that it was unjust. Let's see. I didn't say anything about his wife or anything. He vetoed a bunch of shit. Good president. Good president. That's what he should do. Oh, Cleveland was 47 when he entered the White House as a bachelor, and his sister Rose Cleveland joined him to act as hostess for the first 2 years of the administration. Unlike the previous bachelor president, James Buchanan, Cleveland did not remain a bachelor for long. In 1885, the daughter of Cleveland's friend Oscar Folsom visited him in Washington, and they were engaged to be married soon enough. Cleveland was 49 when he married the 21-year-old Frances Folsom in the White House. 28 years difference. That's twice the difference between me and Rachel. The marriage was unusual because Cleveland was the executor of this girl's father's estate and had supervised her upbringing after her father's death. Nevertheless, the public took no exception to the match. This is a Woody Allen thing. Like, who was that? He like, this was like his stepdaughter. Ew. Oh my God, Grover Cleveland. Who knew? Who knew this about Grover Cleveland? And then, so he waited till he was 47, 49 to get married. And then, okay, he got right down to business, though. That's important. That's good. The Clevelands had 5 children. And Cleveland also claimed paternity of an additional child with another lady, Maria Croft Halpin. So in other words, he said, plus that other, I fucked that other chick over there and got her pregnant too. He said that. He claimed paternity. Wow. Back in the day when you couldn't prove it either. What an upstanding fellow. I like this Grover Cleveland guy. It sounds like a great president, frankly. I never really looked into him before. And, you could say he was a perv or whatever. But I mean, fuck it. He married her and had 5 kids with her. So what are you going to say, That's what Sun Yi said. He plays well. Grover Cleveland does sound like a 70s funk musician name. I agree. It's a mix between Grover Washington and Cleveland Jackson. Something like that. Okay. Now I'm going to read a little bit more about James Buchanan. Let's look at James Buchanan and see what his story is all about. He looks like a drunk. He totally looks like a drunk. Look at the Wikipedia picture of James Buchanan and tell me that guy's not a drunk. President Buchanan supported the Dred Scott decision. And joined with the Southern leaders in attempting to admit Kansas to the Union as a slave state. In the process, he angered Republicans. But he held to his pledge to serve only one term and didn't run again. Historians fault him for his failure to address the issue of slavery and the secession of the Southern states and generally consider him to be one of the worst presidents in U.S. history. James Buchanan, huh? Why was he such a bad president, though? What did he actually do? He didn't really, well, he was wrong about the Dred Scott case. That was obviously a wrong ruling by the Supreme Court. Every time the Supreme Court rules incorrectly about the Constitution, it seems to cause lots of problems. Proposed constitutional amendment. March 2nd, 1861, Congress approved an amendment to the United States Constitution that would shield, quote, domestic institutions of the states, including slavery, from the constitutional amendment process and from abolition or interference by Congress, and submitted it to the state legislatures for ratification. Commonly known as the Corwin Amendment, it was never ratified by the requisite number of states. That would have put an end to the Civil War before it started. Huh. Buchanan reminds me a little bit of what's his name? Neville Chamberlain. Is that his name? The guy who said, "There shall be peace in our time," after meeting with Hitler when he got off the plane. That was Buchanan. He was trying to stop the Civil War as best he could. He's like, look, we have to make a decision here. Are we a federalist state? Are we fundamentally the United States of America, or are we fundamentally these United States of America? Buchanan said, let's go with the these. If we embrace that wholeheartedly, we won't have a civil war. And he was right. But, of course, the problem was he was wrong in the way he was going about doing it. By trying to exempt the states from the Constitution, he's having problems, and you couldn't get away from the fact that the Constitution is about ultimately the individual and their rights. And you had whole populations of individual people, darker in skin usually, but of indeterminate race, of course, whose rights were being violated. So that's obviously a problem, No doy. No doy is all I can say about that. What's wrong with me? That's literally all I know. Alex the ENTP, if you are feeling that a lot, it's kind of a joke title in this instance, but it didn't used to be a joke. It used to be a question that was my mantra that I said every day over and over again. What the fuck is wrong with me? God, you're such a fucking worthless piece of shit, Eric. Blah, blah, blah. I used to do that shit constantly. Like all day long, I would just lambast and belittle myself verbally in my head. Sometimes it would come out. Sometimes it would just sort of escape my mouth, and I just start, if I was, But the reality is, Chamberlain did exactly what he ought to have done in those circumstances as best he could. And regardless of what he said publicly, there's also the quite big possibility that he was aware he was just trying to some extent, buy a time for England to ramp up its production of weaponry and stuff like that. And yet, he's seen as a joke. Buchanan, similarly, he was trying to, the country was split in half before his very eyes. He's a northerner who tried to be fair. And so he tried to go, okay, well, let's try to give the South here something so we don't go to civil war. And he got pilloried. And as soon as the Civil War happened, people started referring to it as Buchanan's War. Fucking bullshit. What bullshit? Poor Buchanan, poor Chamberlain. They were trying to do the best they could in the circumstances. The thing is, Chamberlain had the job he had, which was actually having to care about results. And actually try to walk this kind of narrow line. Whereas Churchill, not yet established as prime minister, he got to play the firebrand. He's not actually in power yet, so he can go, it's cut and dry. We got to go, this guy's evil, blah, 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 whatever, And so then, by the time he becomes prime minister, he doesn't have to play diplomat at all anymore. He can play leader. But Chamberlain had the harder job. He had to be a diplomat. And the fact that he gets reamed for that is unfair and a shame. Well, Winston's mom says a good thing here. Tesla said energy, frequency, vibration are the keys to understanding the universe. Tell the universe every day you are worthless, and what frequency will your vibration create, and what energy is produced? I mean, the answer is nothing. What it does is it just becomes your experience. It's not like it does anything else. You don't suddenly become more worthless. It's not possible to manifest shit like that. And this is a mistake. People mistake meaning smithing for manifesting. When I was doing that stuff to myself every day, I was not meaning smithing. I was not creating the reality that I was speaking. I was instead paying the piper. I was paying for my alcohol. And I had to do that because otherwise I would not just have been a drunk, but I'd have been a liar. And I couldn't be that as well. So I was punishing myself because I deserved to be punished because I was a drunk. I couldn't avoid that reality. I couldn't avoid the fact that I didn't deserve to be happy. I do now. Only thing is, I was alcohol's bitch in no uncertain terms. And I was willing to give a lot to keep it. Give a lot of dignity, give a lot in terms of ontological health, give a lot in terms of autonomy, and in terms of ability to argue things, in terms of standing up for myself. I give it all up because it's like when I was a drunk, I always knew that everybody had that argument they could use against me if they wanted to, or I thought they did. A lot of these people I thought could use that argument probably didn't have any idea what was going on. But, I knew, and I knew that if anybody were to say something like my wife used to, my second wife used to basically use "you're a drunk" to end every argument. So I couldn't hold her accountable for anything because, after all, I was a drunk. So I just had to just sort of like keep my mouth shut and go drink more. So I shamed the fuck out of myself, and I also was miserable. I'd wake up every morning, I'd be dry heaving or sometimes puking, and I'd go into the bathroom and say, shame and anxiety. I wish I were dead. 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 You fucking worthless piece of shit. I just fucking lay into myself in the mirror, and then, of course, when you're like that, you set the table for you to drink more because why not? After all, that's my life when I'm not drunk. So I got hate myself or don't hate myself, but make sure I hate myself again soon. Those are the only two choices. And even then, I hated myself when I was drinking sometimes. By the end, I just hated myself constantly. Dawson K, great question. I want to address it. You said before that you didn't drink due to like feeling bad or whatever. Why did you drink? What did you get out of it? I drank because the answer I've given before is I drank to watch TV. I couldn't enjoy things like watching TV or just chilling or just normal shit that like my ESFJ wife expected of me and everybody expected of me and I expected of myself, or just I couldn't everything. Time moved way too slow. It always has. It's like I need more from time. I need time to pack more shit into this. This is not exciting enough. This is not interesting enough. I used to think the only way I could ever be happy is if I were a soldier in a never-ending war, so that life is just this endless series of shockingly present moments of life and death, and then the abandon of the time in between that goes along with being at war. It's like soldiers at war in the middle of World War II, when they're not in a battle and they're just sort of like they're marching and stuff. They're not really. It's like there's no SI future, no SI past. It's just they're living in the moment. So I used to imagine that I could be happy in that context without some sort of drugging myself. But alcohol, what it gave me was relief from thinking so much, relief from ideating out everything, relief from like if I'm watching TV normally and I see something on it that just whatever, anything, like something in the show, then it'll make me get up, maybe start pacing around, walk around and think about it, or it'll prompt me to go, oh, you know what I would like to try to do? This other thing over here. But then I don't really feel enough energy to do it. And then I'm just like, it's like, why did I drink? Because reality is boring. Because shit doesn't move fast enough. There's not enough stimulation. Because I want to be moved. God damn it. I want to be moved constantly. Moved by the incredibleness of life. But that's just not how shit works. You can't be constantly moved by the incredibleness of life. Alcohol is a shortcut. You drink a few glasses of wine, and all of a sudden this sitcom seems hilarious enough. It's fine. You're just feeling warm and chill, and you're happy sitting there, and then, that's funny, and that's why I drank. To make myself a normal human being. That's what it did for me for a long time. It made me a normal human being. Just content with fucking nothing. Content with just boring, regular shit going on day after day. And just, I got some responsibilities. Got to pay some bills. And fuck that noise, man. I hate that shit. Reality's not boring. You're just in the wrong place at the right time. Are you sure I'm not at the right place at the wrong time? It's actually wound up becoming very relevant to my question about fourth slot SI and more, of course. Thanks for opening up. Sure. How do I deal with being sober? Smoke a lot of weed. Okay. Smoke a lot of weed, do amphetamines. That's how I deal with being sober. I will never be a person who can handle having nothing. I need something to be like, okay, this is my temporal bargaining chip. Like I need something where I go, okay, this has been a long day. When I get home, I'm going to pull some bowls and it's going to be really relaxing. I need to know that that's waiting for me. Something like that. The thing is, the other answer to how I dealt with it at first was engaged in the behavior of faith. In other words, praying and stuff like that helps a lot because it's basically it answers all the ontological teleology questions, which need to be answered one way or the other. You're going to have to answer them. You may come up with answers that are totally unsatisfying and go, well, those are better because they don't involve any magical thinking. But they're not really answers. They're not satisfying and they don't provide guidance. So you need those kind of questions answered. And one way to answer them is to engage in faith as behavior. I've got to go get my mom up right now. So I'm going to end this live stream. Or I can either end this live stream and start it up again when I come back outside. Or I can just leave it on and let you guys chat amongst yourselves while I go inside for about 15 minutes. It's going to be a long absence of me for a live stream, given that I'm the one who's supposed to be live streaming. But I'll just do that. Chat amongst yourselves. Hi, Peter. My peacock's here. I think I'm going to show you guys my peacock before I go inside. This is my pet peacock, Peter. Okay, so here in Arcadia, we have peacocks that wander around the streets, We got a lot of them. And Peter here is our personal peacock. And the reason he is our personal peacock is because we feed him a lot. And we know who he is, which one he is. Come here, Pete. Because he's got a wonky feather. one of his feathers is kind of wonky. Here, Pete, come here and stand where the people can see you. There's my peacock, Pete. He likes pistachio nuts. But they're kind of slow to feed him because I got to take the shells off of each one. So, instead I'm going to feed him something else. I'm going to feed him what I normally feed him for breakfast, which is cereal. It turns out that Pete is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Aren't you, Pete? Yes, you are. You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. sometimes I tell you, sometimes I just want to say, meow to the meowity, man. And that's just basically all there is to say about it, you know. Sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes all there is in life is 4 meows and a chow. And then it's just like, that's not going to be very fulfilling, obviously. 4 meows and a chow. Let me close this door over here. Have you been chatting amongst yourselves? I don't want to interrupt your conversation, is the thing. If you're in the middle of something, 4 men and a cow. No, 4 meows and a pow. I mean a pyow. No, I'm not worried about 4 men and a cow. Cow, cow, cow. No, I'm not worried about 4 men and a cow. I am worried about 4 meows and a pyow. If you're not worried about women, then how can you go swimming inside a lake? Wow. Meow, 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 and meow, meow, meow. If you like them, then you are black. If you hate them, then yeah. Hey, wow. Wow, I mean, it should have been minor. I'm worried about 4 meows and a pyow. I'm not worried about 4 men and a cow. Dan, Kind, and Phage, Katerina, fill my dreams every night. Dan, Kind, and Phage, Katerina, do you know that you fill my dreams every night? It's true. Every night my dreams are filled with Phage Dans. Phage is like beige mixed with, what color starts with yellow? Is there any color that starts with yellow? I mean, what color starts with yellow? What color starts with F? What color starts with yellow doesn't make any sense at all. What color starts with F? Can anybody think of a color that starts with F? Fuchsia. Fuchsia starts with F. Okay. Thank God. How fuchsia is your root chakra? Do you have within your root chakra? Thanks, Dan. You keep being your awesome self too. Actually, no, don't. Stop being your current awesome self and start a new awesome self that's even awesomer. I feel like I'm being spied on from above. That's why I haven't put the camera there before. It's like, I gotta look up to look at you. It's like, what are you doing up there? Hey, what are you sitting up there for? Come down here. You know what I'm saying? Okay. How much poo is there inside of your face? A lot. That's the answer to that question. What song am I going to play? What song? What song am I going to play? Let's find out. Right now. Without a moment's hesitation. I know what I want to play, actually. I want to play My Share of Shame. This upcoming song I'm about to play is a song that I wrote after a big fight with Kimberly. And in this big fight with Kimberly was in one of our normal fights, which is to say, I was trying to resolve problems with my words. Okay, but Kimberly, let's try to be fair about this. So I admit that meow, and I always like to start like that with, let me concede some shit first, right? It's the best way to make people, receptive to being fair, receptive to power exchange, basically. A good, healthy relationship is one that involves power exchanges. Like, here comes my dad. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have your registration?
Yes.
Do you have your license?
Yes.
All right. What you need to do is, I don't know if he has the VIN, but if you email Ben, and I would have you talk to him how this is done, he will order the key now. And Eric, we need that extra key, and I don't know where it is, so I'm ordering it.
Okay, so what do you need from me?
I want you to talk to he wants you to send, I probably need to get the VIN. I don't know if he has it or not, because I don't think he's ever seen the car. Okay, then in terms of a appointment, we have one for 10 o'clock on the 7th.
Okay, great.
That was the day you wanted.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, sure, that's fine.
Okay, where's your calendar?
It's right here.
All right, was a good idea.
Okay, I'll write it down.
So we're all on the same page here.
Okay, so you need the VIN, is that what you're telling me?
Huh?
You need the VIN? You need me to email him?
I'd like you to talk. I'd like you to talk and see what he needs to have you send. I know he needs a registration and the license. And if he needs the VIN, then we'll have to get it. Also, I need you at some point to move your car since I don't have the key, or I can move the car.
Okay. Here's the keys.
All right. Now let me give you Ben's phone number.
All right. So we've got
This is why we need the extra key. So I'm not out here.
Yeah, you're right. Sounds good. I agree. I'm not fighting you on anything, Dad. Okay. So
7th at 10.
Mini. 10. Okay, and then what's the other thing I was going to
Cooper and Beamer is the name of the company, and the phone number is
go.
626 963 6333.
Okay, cool. I'll call him within an hour, okay?
Well, there's no hurry in this, but if we get the key ordered now,
I'll do it within an hour.
wait. When we go out on the 7th, it will be there for us to pick it up.
All right, cool.
All right. Now I'm going to take the garbage out, and then I'm going to run down to CVS and buy a rollator. What time would be best for you? I got to feed Jane. For me to do that.
Whenever you are ready to go do that, I will be in and out, back and forth.
Okay.
I'll make sure she's got drinks and stuff like that. All right, cool. Okay. Yeah, I can do after 5 p.m. Los Angeles time. Today or tomorrow, whatever. I hate when I'm typing with one hand. Do you guys see the meows that I have to meow now? Do you understand? Do you feel me? Do you feel my meow? You're right, Winston's mom. I try my best, but it's like, look, the thing is, right now, it's like Rachel said yesterday when we were chatting. I'm doing a lot of stuff for others right now. And there are certain times when I need, in particular, something very specific. I need a large chunk of hours, ideally completely uninterrupted, to work on music. When I get interrupted during those processes, I get fussy. I get irritated. I start thinking like, okay, I need to be facilitated in what's most important, because I'm busy facilitating what's important to other people, but I need this thing to be respected. And that's to say, I can't get my work done if I'm not afforded like 8 hours straight of just tweaking out on this thing. Also, I need to go get cigarettes. So, what do you think about the Peacock? Was he interesting to people? People go like, wow, Peacock. Or people are just like, yeah, whatever, if you get a Peacock. Let's go up and see. Thank you, Phage Katarina. I appreciate that so much. That's exactly the kind of response I want to get. Thank you for that. Phage Katarina says, wow, he wasn't joking. I thought he might mean a figurine or something. How do you have a peacock? Thank you. That's exactly the response I want. They just live around here. I live in Arcadia, and in one part of Arcadia only, there's peacocks. And the reason is because the arboretum is an arboretum. You know, it's like a big thing. It's like a zoo for trees. And there's a square of houses that are built in around the arboretum. And on every side of the square of houses is a big street. They're like major street. Within the square of houses is just small streets. So the peacocks can live in the arboretum and within this little residential neighborhood where there's not much traffic, and there's plenty of like lush yards and stuff for them to eat shit out of, and they're fine. But they can't really get out of this area because every time they try to, they get run over by cars. They either try to cross the freeway to the north, or Baldwin to the east, or Huntington to the south, or Rosemead to the west. And then there's not, except for to the north, which they have to cross the freeway, there's not really a lot of good houses to eat out of and stuff in any direction either way that's close enough. So they just all stay in this area right here. It's called the Village. And they've always been here I've lived here since 1974. My parents have, you know. And yeah. All right. So are you leaving right this second to go to the CVS?
Yeah.
Right this second.
Yeah, I can go now.
Okay. I mean, can you wait 5 minutes? I can run to Tony's and get cigarettes and be right back.
I can wait 10 minutes.
All right. Cool. All right.
I got to take the garbage out, and I got to put the rollator in the garbage. So.
All right. Cool. I'll be right back. Right now. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, so I need to find my wallet. What did I do with my wallet? I always put it in a different spot. I've got no sense about me, and that is why I ought behave quite a bit differently than I do when I put my wallet down. I should have a single place around that makes it wallet town. Here it is, I found it. Congratulations, yeah. It was inside my bag over there that is made of black. All right, I'll be right back. You guys chat amongst yourselves again. Sorry, I'm not really doing my job in the live stream. Sorry, not sorry. You're 4 years sober yourself, Chris Chapman. Congratulations, good job. Way to rock and roll. You know what's better than Mountain Dew? Non-alcoholic beer. I don't know how I went 5 years. I didn't start drinking non-alcoholic beer until this past summer. And I will never go back to not drinking non-alcoholic beer again. Man, I need beer. And this is like just as good, better than beer. It's beer without any of the negative aspects of it. It's fantastic. I could just drink it all day long, except it's the same price as beer. It's like too expensive to drink it all day long. I mean, that's the thing. The SI links that I have to beer and wine are very powerful. Even to hard alcohol. Alcohol has a weird kind of it's the only drug that's genuinely, truly satisfying. Like, I will never again know true, deep satisfaction in the way that you get when you're not, like there's no, let's say for whatever reason, you've gone a few days without drinking anything and you've worked really hard and you've gotten something done and accomplished and you're feeling good and you go home. I'll never have that feeling again that I used to have at the end of debate tournaments, for example, because regardless, when I was drunk for the vast majority of my drinking career, it didn't impact work. I never drank at work and I never drank before work. And the last like month or two, things kind of spiraled a bit, real. Like, I just kind of, the last month or two, I was just like, fuck it. My life is over. There's no point in being alive anymore. And then I started like drinking before work a little bit. But yeah, I used to come home from debate tournaments after freaking long days of serious work. And there's nothing more satisfying than sitting down with like a glass of wine and that you've really earned. Like, when you've genuinely earned the relaxation and you don't overboard the relaxation, alcohol, that's what it's for. It's just, the problem is somebody like me, I can't handle it. I just cannot handle it. So I don't anymore. But this makes it unnecessary for me to even have to miss anything. I have to miss wine, but so what? I got beer. My favorite brand of non-alcoholic beer, Chris Chapman, and I tried a bunch of them now, is Klaus Toller Dry Hopped, which you'd swear you're drinking a fucking IPA. It's like, it tastes so much like a beer, it's crazy. This is my third favorite brand of non-alcoholic beer. It's quite good. It tastes like Chimay, kind of. It's like a Holland beer. I'm stoked. Anytime I go to a store to buy a non-alcoholic beer and they have this, because it's kind of hard to find. My second favorite between Buckler and Klaus Toller Dry Hopped, and I can't find Klaus Toller Dry Hopped at all anymore now. They ran out of it at Bevmo, and I can't find it anywhere. But hopefully I will find it at some point. My second favorite is Bitburger. Bitburger, I mean, look, I like Klaus Toller Dry Hop. I call that my favorite, but you can switch those two interchangeably, Bitburger and Klaus Toller Dry Hop. Bitburger also tastes just like fucking beer. It's like, you can barely tell it's not beer at all. It's weird. It's crazy good. And the interesting thing is both of those two are 0.0% alcohol. This is less than 1 proof. A non-alcoholic beer can be called non-alcoholic if it's less than 1 proof, which is less than 0.5% alcohol. People might say, well, but Eric, you're still drinking alcohol. No, I'm not. Like I said, I prefer the ones I prefer, and they happen to be 0.0, not less than 0.5, but this is fine. You know what's funny, John George's, is real people almost never come in and say that. It's always people like you, like made up people. It's like, you know, my 17th account for my fake bullshit is named John George's, and it's always people like that. It's weird. It's like he must be like gaming shit or something. I don't know.
She's okay. She has her breakfast.
Okay, I'll go check on her in a few minutes. You know, I'll be in and out there. All right, cool. Klaus Holler does taste good. The regular Klaus Holler is good. Munkholm is the most common brand here. I've never heard of Munkholm before. Maybe I'll find some place that imports it. Yeah, I'm always interested in trying non-alcoholic beer that I haven't tried. One of the things I've noticed right now, though, is happening in the non-alcoholic beer market is there's an unfortunate diversification into things that are fermented-y but aren't really tasting like beer, but are non-alcoholic that are supposed to be like. I got this thing that was supposed to be like, yeah, you got wheat beer. Sometimes they put a little orange flavor, a little orange in it, like Hefeweizen or whatever. Well, this one was supposed to be like that, but with lemon. But it just tasted like fucking weird lemon. I don't know. It didn't taste like beer at all. It was gross. Well, it wasn't gross. It wasn't terrible. It just didn't taste like beer. Regular O'Doul's is not very good, but the Amber O'Doul's is actually pretty good. I also had Old Milwaukee's. No, Milwaukee's Best. That's what it's called. Milwaukee's Best. Or no, maybe it's Old Milwaukee. I don't know. It's one of those two. I had their non-alcoholic beer. It came in a 12-pack of cans. Like, that was funny. I don't normally drink beer out of cans. Yes?
Your bike. You moved it from the other side.
You need me to move it back over. I'm going to take it to the bike shop today.
Why don't we take it to storage?
I'm taking it to the bike shop to get fixed today.
All right. Well, I apparently backed into it.
Oh.
Because my car only fits.
Yeah, that's my bad.
No, I didn't. There's no damage to it.
Okay, I'll take it to the bike shop today. I'm going to get it fixed. I want the bike to ride because
that's great.
Driving around here is insane.
Wish you'd tell me this stuff before I back into the garage. But that's fine. I know it's just one of those things. Okay.
All right, cool.
Got it.
I get too randy when I drink. Not good for single male. Randy. Do you see that shit? See the shit I gotta deal with? It's like every little fucking thing. That's why people don't like ESTJs. Like, who wants to deal with that shit all the time? Nobody. Nobody wants to deal with that shit all the time. Tired of the motherfucking jacket. Sweating my boys while I'm chilling in the shack. All the wisdoms of NWA. 6 a.m, police at my door. I was talking to my dad and just dealing with his fucking ongoing TESI bullshit makes me go, oh, fuck it, you know. It's like all my enthusiasm just sort of drains away. Earthquake. Yeah, well, my dad, we are German ancestrally, I guess. You know, Strauss. We're German. I'm German on both sides for a long ways back. No good comes from skating on with them whom you mistaken for the one. Habituated defense and indecency self-inflicts eventually once your search is done. Driving in the car last night, we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words was wrong, if they were dumb, so I earned my share of shame. It's each of our own failings, not us doing the nailing to the wall. We fish so the others sailing off to reset their life and all. You can trust me, I can trust you, though neither trust ourselves much true. Love lays deep between you and me, at least about that we can both agree. Driving in a car last night, we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words as wrong as they were dumb. I burned my share of shame. My share of shame. There.
Bacon.
Amelia, go from that place, take unto you the details of your case. Amelia, when you rise above, floating ahead and soaring like a dove, what will they say when they look at you then moving sideways in the space you're in? sidelong with your thirsty grin. Amelia, can't you see? You and I will never be Amelia, yet you're still free. Too much opportunity to live out in the rain, Amelia. Amelia, we're watching you fail for sure. No matter what we do, Amelia, when you rise above, floating ahead and soaring like a dove, what will they say when they look at you then, moving sideways in the space you're in? Sidelong with that thirsty grin. Amelia, can't you see? You and I will never be Amelia, yet you're still free. With too much opportunity to leave out in the, too much opportunity to leave out in the, too much opportunity to leave out in the rain, Amelia. What's the matter with Chad? Is he terribly bad? Is he very like Dan, who's a terrible man? Sort of like Jill, who can't pay her bill, or rather like Jack, she's stuck on the facts. And what's her ass Sue? Will she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. What's the matter with Bryn? Is he living in sin? Is she terribly thin? Matter with Frank, stealing fish from my tank. He's colluding with Lou. He's locking with Lou. What's wrong with the ladies? What's the matter with men? From the feelings of Katie to the coldness of Sven. They talk about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days, paths that lead to lesser days. Spill still out the over, spill still out the over water, and whoever's left that's still okay. Just tie the sails to the mast. Are you angry at Ken or at Neville again? Don't bother with Kev, he's practically dead. Just focus on Bert, he's medium hurt. What's a quandary for Liz? Did she fail a quiz? And what about Drew? Will she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days. Spill still out the overwatered paths, and whoever's left that's still okay. Just tie the sails to the mast. Hey, Cameron. Yeah, that's fine. No problem. Okay, no, not a problem. All right. All right, cool. Thanks. Bye. Thing to remember, Mr. Cloud, you'll carry a burden. It'll weigh you down. It'll feel like murder if you don't express adequate respect for the experience of others. You should care muchly for whether or not you go. Try to think about the burden you'll incur. All of us sometimes feel like a big pimp until we don't. If we treat another utility, chances are we won't. I remember briefly feeling like some kind of big important guy who was stealing opportunity I'd never had before. Then I realized I didn't want to be a whore. And the moral of that story, Cloud, is dating's dangerous in general. Very dangerous. The reason it's very dangerous is because people get their feelings hurt. They get their feelings involved no matter what. I mean, like, just throwing it out there that I was looking for a girlfriend was enough to cause problems. Definitely caused problems, you know. I'm very happy to have the issue resolved and not have to deal with that anymore. I can't handle it. I can't handle, like, knowing that somebody else might, you know, like I might start talking to somebody and then they might like me more than I like them and feel like I got their hopes up and disappointed them, and that shit might affect their narratives going forward. And it's like I can't be responsible for all that kind of shit. It's like I can't. I just gotta. I hate dating. I hate everything about it. High-priced call girls sound glamorous, huh? Well, definitely not glamorous to be a call girl, regardless of the price. At the end of the day, if you're a call girl, somebody else is paying you to degrade yourself for their pleasure. There's not really any other way to look at it, frankly. Now, if you personally get off on doing that, then fine. That's your thing. But I think that's quite unusual. That's definitely the exception that people, like a chick goes like, well, look, what I really get off on is just being treated like an object in every sense of the word. Like a horse you rent. Okay, well, if you get off on that, then fine. Fair enough. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. I could bring you around to here with me, I guess. I gotta go check on my mom too. I'll bring you around. I'll bring you around here. Bring you around to the other side, as you say. That way you won't be so filled with a dearth of me. You won't experience a dearth of Eric. You don't want a dearth of Eric. That'd be. People die from that. People get scurvy from a dearth of Eric. You can't see shit because of the sun. All you get is sunlight. That's not a very good place for the camera. How about over here instead? How about right there on your own face? It's a little better. I'm gonna run over here and check on my mom. Yeah, she's fine. Turns out she's made entirely out of cheese. Winston's mom, thank you for noting your kind words about Amelia. It's one of my favorite songs that I've written as well, and yet it's one of a couple songs that I think are really good that haven't necessarily gotten good reception from other people. There's one song I have that's an older song, it's really a track called Compton, Better Stop Barking. And I really love the song. It's got now, I don't know, it's in the hundreds of views, but I only got like one thumb up or something, or two. Whereas, I can totally tell, like, the feedback for music is pretty reliable. For example, although there are other factors too, like assuming, let's say, forget about songs that include Ruse Moose or Spacey or anything. Just songs that I make, multi-track recordings that I make. The better ones get a higher ratio of thumbs up than the worst ones, and it's pretty reliable indicator. I end up usually agreeing with them. Sometimes I don't, though. On a couple of occasions, I disagree. Like, I don't agree on the fact that people don't like Compton, Better Stop Barking. I think it's a great song. And Amelia is another one that I just disagree with everybody. But, like, I really like it when a song, I think, like, okay, this one's great, but I don't think people are going to get it, why it's great. And then it is well received. I like that. Notably, those ones that I'm talking about that I think are great, they're well received anyway, even though I'm afraid that people aren't going to get it. They seem to have fewer total views too. So the people aren't going to get it. There's something about it that I'm right about that, but the people who do get it, they're right as well. Like, I don't know. When you talk about art and aesthetics and stuff, it's like I think that I'm correct about everything. Probably everybody thinks they're correct about everything, but different people think it matters more being correct to them than other people. Like ESFJ, ISFJ, well, ESFJ, they don't get the idea that the stuff is better than other stuff. You know, it's like they link it to their experiences and go, I like No Doubt because they played such a big role in my high school years. You know, shit like that. And the other types are very concerned about what's good and what's not. And no offense, INTJs, they're very concerned about what's good and what's not. About a lot of music stuff, they tend to be wrong. But sometimes they can be right about certain kinds of music stuff. And they can be right about other things. They write a lot about sort of technical stuff, technique stuff. They're like, when I wanted to become better at producing music, and I finally stopped being my normal stubborn self, and I said, okay, who can I learn from about this? I turned to an INTJ and I asked Jeremy, how can I make better music? Give me production tips. Help me understand music production better. And he absolutely did help me understand it better. And he broke it down for me, and my production improved immediately thereafter. The power of learning just metaphysically. In other words, I didn't need any more SI, experiential knowing. It got me as far as I was going to go with it. I needed NI at that point. I needed to turn to somebody who had NITE precisely, because I wasn't asking for help with aesthetic decisions. I was asking for help with realizing aesthetic decisions. So who was the perfect person to turn to? An INTJ. And he was, in fact, extremely helpful. No, he makes great music when he's doing soundtracks for music system, for movies. He's really good at that instrumental kind of music. Like, not instrumental meaning just as instruments, but it's instrumental to something else. It's not an end in itself. He does great with that. But he likes the Dave Matthews Band. I shit you not. And he was watching a live stream concert of Dave Matthews Band concert and waxing poetic about the mix. It doesn't matter how perfectly 6 turds are mixed together in a bowl, it doesn't make a good soup. You know what I'm saying? So INTJs are burdened with a curse that I find quite tragic. Namely, they can be the absolute best at knowing how to execute aesthetic visions, musically or in any medium really, but musically especially, they're not going to be very likely to actually have good aesthetic vision, because they get too enamored with non-universal, universalities about, they universalize their particulars too much. Cloud, look, we need to understand something. Rule number 1 in life is this: there but for the grace of God go I. There but for the grace of God go I. Anytime I feel like dismissing a person's personhood because of things that are visible to me, I remind myself, there but for the grace of God go I. I could very easily be a homeless drunk in the street. I could be dead. Lots of bad things. I should be. If there is any justice in the world, like, my game has been set on noob level difficulty. And so I am grateful for that. I respect that I'm lucky. I don't take it for granted. For individual human beings who are less lucky than me, I don't believe that it's usually a good idea to presume that they need tough loves. Like, nobody's been telling you the harsh truth here, and I need to show you how it is. Almost never. They always need to be heard, first of all. And they want to talk to somebody and deal with somebody who they believe affords them an honest ear, Well, look. Most stuff that is dismissive of the magical, and most of it is dismissive at all. Implicit in language are all these words that we have to express cognitive function biases, like the word manipulate. The word manipulate, when used to refer to people being manipulated, for example, it means what it means because it's saying you're treating another person like an object that you are manipulating to accomplish a goal. In other words, you're expressing utility. You're treating another person in a utilitarian fashion. But the thing is, what that critique really is saying, and the word manipulative is saying, is that FE interface, that is basically the message is simply this: prefer TE interface. That's the message. It's that simple. It's not critiquing usually a particular instance of behavior as unacceptably manipulative. Rather, it's generally saying this person is manipulative, is assigning an ontological tag to them. And when people say that sort of thing, what they're really saying is prefer TE interface. Let's say you're reading a book and it says, Jody related the story about Bob to Steve. Jody affected Bob's nasal tone. I'm gonna go to the store right now, she mimicked. Okay, so affectation. The idea that people have an affect is a word that emerges from the configural nature of ontology, that we're each configurally meow. Like an affectation is taken from the word affect, which is used by psychology to refer to the personality of the person, the aspects of personality that are visible, they're objective data. The objective data of personality is that which expresses externally in a way that can be seen by others. So it's referred to as an affect. Now, for an FE user, what is psychology refers to as an affect is much more similar to who they are in some regard than it is for an FI user. I don't have an authentic understanding of how I, like, who I am. It's organic in some regard. I've become who I am by developing a certain affect, but it's not affected in that regard because I'm not pretending to be Mia for a purpose. Affect implies a utility thing, but it also suggests the distinction between an external metaphysical plane and an internal metaphysical plane. All the words we use all the time do. They require these things. And well, that's the thing about absolute truth being NI. So, okay, so like this argument that somebody was having with me last night in the stream about like simplicity and complexness. It was an ENFP, and he said, truth is objective subjectivity and beauty is subjective objectivity. And so I asked questions about what he meant by that, right? And he didn't like the fact that I was asking questions. He saw the fact that I was asking questions about it as missing the point. That I know what it meant holistically, and I know what the definition of the words are, and it's supposed to be understood holistically. And to try to parse it out with TI in that fashion is missing the point. That you will lose all the truth in it if you try to dismantle it in a deductive sense. Its truth is synergistic. Now, that's an important distinction to be made between the ENFP and the ENTP. ENFP has the same fondness for NI synergistic holistic truths that ENTP does. But ENTP wants to understand it in a deductively reducible sense, even while concurrently accepting that it might have some sort of synergistic whole that's non-reductive. Those are not beautiful words. That's imitation NI. The NI quality of it is purely on an FE level. There's no actual meaningful NI to it. Because what I asked the guy last night, and I would ask anybody, okay, well, fine, that's cool, but can you please distinguish between an example of objective subjectivity and regular subjectivity? What's the distinction you're actually making here? Well, when I asked him to make that distinction, he didn't want to do that at all, because to him, that was undermining the NI holistic. Ken Kirsten Sarnberg says, those are beautiful words. Wow. Is it a quote? I don't know if it's a quote or not, but the thing is, that's what it's good at. And that's, an ENFP is going to do something like that. They're going to come up with something that is resonant on NI levels, and people feel it in some regard, but it doesn't withstand any scrutiny when you actually look at what it means. It's not intended to mean anything other than to wash out the distinction between truth and beauty, and to wash out the distinction between objectivity and subjectivity, and to tell us that truth is better attained when we don't make those distinctions. Well, that's just complete bullshit. I don't know what else to tell you. It's absolute bullshit. But I get the fact that I think it's absolute bullshit because I'm an ENTP, and he thinks that my parsing of it is absolute bullshit because he's an ENFP. The only last line of point to be made about that is I understand why his position is different than mine, and I respect the fact that it's implicit to his configural situation. He doesn't get the legitimacy of TI in the way that I get the legitimacy of FI, and probably that's just a disadvantage that ENFPs will always have when compared against ENTPs. ENTPs have, I would suspect, a unique ability to be disinterested in their calculi regarding themselves, and therefore are massively empowered towards metacognitive growth in ways that maybe other types aren't. It's the polar FI helps you to be disinterested, which means you can be disinterested even about being disinterested. So I recognize that TI is constantly doing that to NI. It's like, no, your NI is not good enough because my TI can't parse it out. And I respect the fact that in a lot of areas, NI ought to be preferred. Aesthetics is just as objective as symbolic logic, but it's synergistic, so it's irreducibly so. And that doesn't mean that beauty is on the eye of the beholder. That's a TI trying to co-opt NI insanely. TI SI trying to co-opt NI. No, everything's particular. Bull fucking shit. It is not the case that song and this song are inherently just as good as each other it's just one's more popular than the other or whatever. No, there are genuine aesthetic differences. There's disposable shit, and then there's good stuff, and then there's genius fucking songs that will live forever. And it's implicit to the work. The work exists outside of the person who makes it. It's its own entity, and it's its own complete entity. To make the song the truest form of art that there is. Only a song can you experience like a friend you visit over and over again. And there are only really a couple of types of people who don't have that relationship with songs very much. INTPs don't really, because their innies overboard and they just always want to hear new things. And presumably INFPs would be like that as well. But I think INFPs probably a little more grounded into their SI physical. So it's like, if you're just interested in SI metaphysical like INTPs, then there's no reason to repeat experiences. And of course, just like objective truths that are deductive in nature or empirical in nature, objective truths that are synergistic in nature are, they're just as correct or incorrect. So it's like a given symbolic logic equation, or whatever you want to call it, is either valid or invalid. I might ask 10 people. 8 of them might have no idea. 1 of them might guess wrong. 1 of them might get it right. It's nevertheless objectively so that the answer is valid or invalid according. And that it can be determined. Now, TE would say in response to that, well, that's why we have to have experts to determine what's true, because only experts can tell you if that's valid or not. But no, that's not true. You can determine it yourself, you just have to learn something first. So the fact is, just as there are some people who can't do deductive reasoning problems, even with a lot of practice, there's some people who can't judge art right, even with a lot of practice. They'll like bad shit. They'll think good shit's bad. They'll think bad shit's good. They'll be wrong all the time. So I completely stand behind my basic philosophy of reject aesthetic relativism is complete and obviously bullshit. And just because truths are synergistic and non-reducible doesn't mean they aren't objective. So if anybody tries to give you views in the eye of the beholder, tell them that Eric's got some poo in his butt for them, and they're welcome to come get it if they want. I'm gonna check on my mom. Mom's rolling off to somewhere. Who knows where. She decided to take it upon herself to scoot around in the wheelchair, and it's like, "Where's Mom?" She like scooted off into the other room. So I'm going to attempt shortly to begin taking a little bit more willful control of my SE, which is sort of my resolution, I guess, if I have one. By which I mean I have a plan for today, and I'm going to try to implement it. So my plan today is to work on a specific project. Even my plans leave things open. Work on one of two projects. The one I'm going to work on is a writing project. I'm going to script out some shit. I've got an idea for a little show I'm going to make with Rachel called, I don't know, maybe you guys can help me come up with a name for it. The concept is this. It's a reality show in which one type from each quadra comprise a house of 4 people, and all the content of it is just each of the individual 4 people having like the confession booth time, like talking to the camera one-on-one. And it's going to be an ESTP. Rick Benson's going to be the ESTP. I'm also going to play the role of the INTJ. And Rachel's going to be the ENFP and the INTP. Those are the 4 types that are going to be in the house. Okay. So I'm going to write the first episode basically. And then Rachel and I will record the various things, the parts that I write. And then I'll put it together. So, it's like I was going to call it like Quadra House. Or something like that. But if somebody can think of a more snappy name for it, that'd be fine. Name's still up in the air. But I've got the idea for the first episode, which is they're talking about moving in. Okay, so to this new house, and I think it's going to be set in. I was going to set it in Vegas, but I think I'm going to set it in Orange County. Because I know Orange County better, and I can work with that better. So, anyway, the first episode is going to be they're going to be doing their confessional, and the central issue is going to be that the INTP carried his bags in and then just left them right there by the door, and flopped down on the couch, and they've been there for a couple of days, and it started a big fight. And so, no, they live in a 4-bedroom apartment that's furnished by the TV company. And they're going to be 4 young people. So it's the real world. I mean, the thing to remember that everybody ought to remember in terms of growth, spirituality, rationality, all that kind of shit, is that each of us has a self that exists within turn-based modalities and a self that exists within real-time modalities. In general, it's a good idea to advise people towards the non-reflexive approach. So it's a good idea to give me advice like, get out of your head, go jogging, do something physical, because that'll help. When I'm too much in my head, too metaphysical, I get a little meow. And chances are when I'm too metaphysical, I'm getting too meow. But the answer is very much what Ghostwriter is talking about there. Being within the present moment, experiencing my experience in real time, and getting out of the turn-based world that I spend most of my time in, thinking about ideas and stuff, writing stuff, whatever. Because I am both an animal and a metaphysical entity. And so I have to understand that any sort of prescriptive thing, like what I ought to do in order to solve a problem, like I'm feeling meow, what should I do? That all of those kind of questions they begin with, well, what am I doing right now? Like, or what have I been doing? So if I'm feeling meow, first question is, what have I been doing? Probably the reason I'm feeling meow is I've been doing that thing for too long. What sometimes can get me just the most meow of all is working on music, and I'm sitting in this chair and I'm not sitting comfortably because I've got fucking bad ergonomics, and I'm leaning forward and I've got all my muscles clenched up, and just the SE of going like, okay, here, Control I to split it, here, Control I, now fade this thing out, just like fading out the end of every bass note for 3 minutes. By the end of that, I'm just experiencing utter torture because I'm forcing myself into this SE follow through shit that is not native to me, really, and it's necessary, but yeah. So, like, if you want to meditate, for example, I've been advised by Winston's mom recently to meditate. I was thinking about that more because yesterday, especially, I basically had exhausted all my dopamine reserves. I had exhausted my physical reserves. I was just tore up feeling. And when I'm feeling tore up, I have to remind myself, Eric, don't make meaning right now. Don't make meaning about your feelings. Don't make meaning about universal meanings at all. The meaning is very simple and it's no more complicated than this, and you just need to accept it. You need to go to sleep. You need to get a good night's sleep. It's just that simple. That's it. Now, I will say, though, that what I took from Winston's mom's suggestion about meditation is that prior to going to sleep, I made much more of an effort to pull myself out of turn-based reality and, stretch a bit and take a shower and just generally try to be in my body and feel it and take care of myself. That's the best kind of meditation for me. The kind of meditation that is often suggested where you are silent, sitting still, letting your mind be as empty as possible is a worthwhile endeavor as well. Part of the problem is because I deal in turn-based reality so much, I do a poor job of accounting for the finite nature of time and the finite number of time slots in any given day. So meditation might help me do a better job of being willful. Being willful is not exclusive, but it's certainly not entirely compatible with being in a state of flow. So being in a flow state where you're just going with what you want to go with and you're excited about it and you're just making, that's very gratifying, but it's doing, not being. Some people are more people who do, and some people are more people who be. Some people are more people who are done too as well. Like INFJs, for example, they're receivers fundamentally. Yeah, basketball would be great. I'd like to go play basketball. I've been saying I want to go jogging, if for no other reason than to remind myself why I don't go jogging. Right now, I'm like tired already because I got a good night's sleep last night. I'm way behind on sleep, and so like the Addy it kind of like lasts a few hours, kind of slowly kind of wears off a little bit. INFJs are receivers. Please elaborate. Well, it means they're going through life in this balanced state of preparedness to glean information. They're much more observational than they are action. They're interface knowledge types. So like an action deliberation type will, if they'll think about something for a while, and then once they've thought about it enough, then they'll talk about it. And they assume once they're talking about it that they're prepared for whatever happens once they start talking about it. That they've anticipated, this is for NETI, that they've anticipated all the possible objections to it. Their logic is sound, it's going to withstand scrutiny, and they don't have to worry anymore about picking up on non-binary data in the moment. So if I want to say, here's my idea that I'm presenting, here's my affirmation, this is what I think this means, blah, 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 blah. I'm not paying any attention to how that makes you feel or whatever, or anything, stuff like that. I am paying exact attention to your words and what your responses are, because I've set this thing up to be knowable in advance by TI, not knowable by a knowing function. And therefore, I don't have to interface. I already know, because I've thought it out in TI in my head and retained it by a SI, what I'm going to say if Bob says meow, what I'm going to say if Bob says mew, and everything. So as a consequence, I'm not having to receive much new information once I begin talking. In fact, I don't have to receive any information. What I do is I do receive some, but instead of receiving information, what I do is get information. So if I were a receiver and that person had said, truth is objective subjectivity and beauty is subjective objectivity, if I were a receiver, I might not have said anything, or probably wouldn't. I would have just, if I were engaging with it in my natural receiving capacity, I would have gleaned a lot of things about the person, probably, more so than about the meaning of the words. Say, I get this person because he said this. Holistically, this indicates this holistic thing about what he intends to do with this language. And I'm also receiving information about how it's playing to other parties here. And I'm receiving information about how it plays against the universal understanding of this that doesn't include people here. And so as a consequence, INFJs spend a lot of time receiving information, and then they know things about that information. Whereas ENTPs spend a lot of time getting information, and then they deliberate that information and act again in response and say, no, you're wrong, or whatever, right? So that's the thing. INFJs spend a lot of time receiving information, and they're probably the most receivey of all the types. Because the two SI DOMs are, SI is much more of a willful knowledge function than NI. NI is not about you and your will. It's about what's true despite you and your will. And you can see the receivery quality of INFJs in the fact that they tend to delete their videos. They put up videos, then delete them. Put them up, then delete them. And why do they do this? Well, they're receivers. They don't like the fact that they've taken an action, because that introduces vectors into the landscape of ideas that link to them in the particular and make their NI less determinate of things. They want to make sure to eliminate those personal vectors, to eliminate particularism from their equations as much as possible. True dart. True dart indeed. It's a super true dart. The truest dart. The truest dart I ever received. I threw it at the board. I hit the circle. And then I fell to my knees. I said, why did I hit the circle? Why? Are you, what type of, you're INTP though, Ken Kirsten Sarah Pagoo. That's a different phenomenon with you. INTPs do that sort of stuff because they're, especially when they're young, very shaky on their FE, and they misjudge how something's going to play. Yeah, this isn't going to play well. Well, maybe it would have played. Maybe it did play well. They put way too much weight into a single response. Somebody said something snarky, they delete it immediately. They're too soft on FE because it's fourth slot. Oh, okay. Well, then you're doing it for the reason I explained that. I thought you were an INTP, but regardless, they both are prone to doing some of that stuff. INTPs will delete some of their shit too, but that's only when they're younger, and it's because they're skittish about FE. It's not the same thing with INFJs. It's what I said before. I have played darts before, but I've never been good at it. I'm not really good at pool, billiards. I'm not good at darts. I'm not good at chess. I'm not good at checkers. I'm not really good at any of those kind of things. Shuffleboard, or that one they have in some bars with the long wooden thing and you push the little things down. What's up, pimp? Just humping hoes left and right, wearing my gold chains, going to the club, seeing strippers, throwing dollar bills at them. I mean, well, okay, but I wasn't feeling especially rich right now, so I brought quarters. I'm giving them quarters. I figure they're a lot like a video game anyway, so why not? I've been told stop throwing the quarters so hard at them, but is that a command? One of the strippers is named Bitcoin. I want all the strippers except Bitcoin in here right now. I think you mean ACCEPT. Eric, what is an egram? An egram's your mom's face plus your dad's ass. Plus my fist in both holes. One fist in each hole. I got one fist in your mom's mouth and one fist in your dad's ass. That's an egram. These new streams are kind of unfamiliar. What familiarity would you like to have with it? Or would you like it to be familiar like that time when you were a child and you bathed in warm milk? Every day the cleaning crew arrives in a school bus. It looks like a field trip. Enneagram is it legitimate? Well, it doesn't withstand, it's not modelable, okay? There's no mechanics to it that make it a sound modelable notion like cognitive functions. But it's a nice taxonomy of ways that people approach problems. And the bottom line is the way people approach problems is in one of three fashions: confront, avoid, or withdraw. I like that idea. I trimmed my beard with scissors. I haven't gotten a haircut yet. I want to get I need to go run some errands today too. I want to get a thing. I thought I just do it myself, so I have to go get my haircut. Like strippers are something I will never understand. Because I'm just too metaphysical, I don't get it. How can you, knowing what you know, how can you find that enjoyable? I mean, it's a convenient taxonomy for me to parse out emotions and how they might impact my relationship to certain events or people or whatever, because I don't have a good sense of that without some sort of taxonomy. But I wouldn't and won't defend it. Like if you ask me to to defend a Negro and say, yeah, we should look at the Negro and shit, then I just feel like, no, I don't. That's why I don't defend the Negro, because they can't really defend it. But it's a useful. Yeah, I mean, ENTP 7 is very different than ENTP 9. You know, it's useful. It's like we can't more than 20 minutes. What's up?
We got a minute. I want to go try this out.
Try what out?
Rollator.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up right now. I'll be out there in a few. I'll come in a few minutes. Okay, so you talk to Sarah MBTI oftenly. That's so annoying because of bullshit. Sarah MBTI is an ENFJ who you know, fourth flat TI, Cloud, fourth flat TI. Thanks, Winston's mom. You're a pal. Later days and better lays.